can hear you loud and clear, Bev and Andrew. No, I don't think it's a betrayal of the Tory right at all. Look, what Rishi Sunak has done is replace the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who was simply causing an absolute nuisance in her role as the Home Secretary. She was disloyal, she was ineffective, and she was incompetent. And being on the right wing of the Tory party, in my opinion, should mean, as Janet Daly from The Telegraph said, believing in free markets, low taxation, small government, and patriotism, because you believe that is the best thing for the country, not being hard-hearted, intolerant, and indifferent to hardship, and also bad at your job. So if the Tory right is upset that Suella Braverman is gone, they need to up their standards because she wasn't good at what being on the Tory right is meant to be.
Well, let's bring Russell Quirk in here. Russell Quirk, I fundamentally disagree with what Albie said. What do you think? Because I think she genuinely showed real political muscle. She was brave, she spoke out, and she was speaking what I think a lot of ordinary people feel, particularly about the way the police operate.
So, look, she was absolutely speaking the truth. You know, we've seen in the weekend newspapers lots of frontline police officers talking about the fact that they were given operational diktat from above that they should treat the Palestinian protesters, for instance, with kid gloves, that they should be lenient with them. And in sharp contrast, of course, we saw, I guess, what some would call patriots and others would call the far right, being kettled, being searched, going in and out of pubs, and being prevented from going to the cenotaph to pay their respects. So there is absolutely no doubt that there is a two-tier policing regime in Britain, certainly across the Metropolitan Police. And for Suella Braverman as our Home Secretary, who is effectively in charge of the police, albeit I accept not operationally, for her to speak the truth, Andrew, she did, and then to be fired for it, I think really just shows how left-leaning Sunak, Hunt and the rest of the government are. And honestly, if they think that this lurch to the left is going to somehow, by way of fighting the centre ground, win them more votes at the next election, then they really have genuinely got another think coming. The base, the ordinary Conservatives that actually want to see us being tough on crime, tough on illegal immigration and lowering taxes, that is not the right. That is conservatism. And that is what the base of Conservative voters will insist on. And frankly, they'll all stay at home now in the upcoming general election, or they'll end up voting for reform.
Albie Amakona, you're shaking your head. Go on.
Yeah, I'm completely shaking my head. Suella Braverman wasn't sacked for speaking the truth. I've said on media outlets that I think some of the things she wrote in her article was correct. I think the two-tier policing system, a fair point. She was sacked for being disloyal, incompetent and ineffective. I agree with lots of things that Russell has actually just said. But the simple fact of the matter is, Suella Braverman was not the woman to deliver that kind of policy platform. What has she actually done during her time in government? What is one thing that Russell can point to that is a delivery from Suella Braverman at her time as Attorney General or as Home Secretary? She's done absolutely nothing.
Well, let's ask Russell. Russell, what's she done?
Well, let me answer that. Let me answer that. Look, so Suella, I'm afraid, was between a rock and a hard place. Look, she's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. She speaks her mind and shows that she was actually probably the only true Conservative in the cabinet, the only politician that we've seen in a long, long time with conviction, with an ideology that she expresses on a daily basis. The problem is, of course, because of collective responsibility, she's got a left-leaning Remainer cabinet that would have restricted her movements and what she could do significantly. And, of course, as we all know, the so-called blob, the civil service, that is just ridden with left-leaning civil servants that are trying to stop the government doing anything that they said they're going to do with regard to stopping this scourge, this invasion of illegal immigration from the Channel. She had absolutely no chance of completing what she wanted to do because she had no support, either from the civil service or from her cabinet. But Albie, don't you agree that we want to see conviction? Politicians, Conservative politicians, with an ideology rather than this flip-flopping from poll to poll, from headline to headline, whereby, of course, nothing then gets done.
The only conviction that I have seen from Suella Braverman is a conviction for incompetence. You weren't able to answer my question when I asked you, what is a policy that Suella Braverman has delivered from all of her time in government? You blamed everyone else. A Conservative value is personal responsibility. Suella Braverman has taken no personal responsibility for her failings. She was one of the most powerful politicians in the country. for over a year, and she's got absolutely nothing to show for it other than divisive, inflammatory headlines. I think the Tory right needs to up their game, and the Conservative Party deserves better than people like Suella Braverman.
Albie, who would you say represents the Tory right now, of who is left and who has a position of power after yesterday's reshuffle?
I think Kemi Badenoch is absolutely a rising star on the Tory right of the party. She's also shown herself to be someone that delivers. She delivered the CPTPP trade deal. She delivered the Inclusive Britain strategy. She's actually delivered on things during her time in government in multiple roles over multiple years. That's very different from Suella Braverman's record, of absolute failure in almost every department she's been in.
Russell, can I ask you, does the restoration of David Cameron to government, does that confirm, in your view, the betrayal of the Tory right?
Yeah, it does. Look, this is the man that effectively broke politics in Britain by going to the country as he did with the Brexit vote, because he was running scared of UKIP, because he himself was not conservative enough. And the fact, as has been rehearsed on social media in the last 24 hours extensively, the fact that of 350 or so Conservative MPs, Rishi Sunak either doesn't think any of them are capable of taking that role as Foreign Secretary, or, to the point, is too scared of those on the so-called right of the party that could do it, that he has to then bring in an ardent, blatant Remainer, which, frankly, apart from Esther McVey now, I don't think there's a Brexiteer in that cabinet. But astonishingly, against the country that voted 52% to leave the EU.
We're late for the news, gentlemen. We could carry this on all morning, but I'm afraid we've run out of time. Let's have this conversation again soon. Co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism, Albie Amankona, and political commentator Russell Quirk. And, of course, you can see Albie every Saturday evening on GB News at 6 o'clock.
And just for the record, Rishi Sunak is a Brexiteer. He did campaign for it in 2016, what he says he did.
And Albie's actually 5 o'clock, not 6, I've just remembered.
Yeah.
Right.